So I want to do a quick video and get back to an old video, essentially, that I did, having to do with fuel line. And my absolute driving me nuts with HUSQVARNA OEM fuel hose that only comes, like, in a pigtail. Essentially 6 or 8 inches at a time. That's it. And these aren't cheap. So why can't I get this stuff in bulk? It's just rubber hose. So the closest thing that I had found was Echo line, which is actually slightly too big. This is effectively 7/30 seconds. It's roughly 5.5 millimeters, 5.6. So is there anything else? Echo line is a little bit bigger in diameter for the outer diameter. Well, let's look at, instead of in millimeters, let's look at it in inches. And what do we got here? So 7/30 seconds. Yeah, 220 roughly. 221. So the Echo line was like 235, 240 if I remember right. You can go back to the other video and have a look. 250 is 1/4 of an inch. It's too big. It's actually too big. It will not fit in the hole. But I happened to go get this stuff. This is actually impulse line for a Stihl 200T, and I looked at it and said, wow, that looks pretty darn close. And the guy was like, yeah, you know, it's $19 for the impulse line. I'm like, what? 19 bucks? He says, well, but there's like 5 feet of it there. Well, there isn't 5 feet, there's a meter. So $19 for a meter. P251R5 spec. So this line apparently is spec'd differently than this other stuff, which we'll get to in a minute, but let's have a look. It says 5.7 millimeters on there. .222. That sure looks like it's the same outer diameter to me. So that very well could be the actual solution to the problem. Impulse line. Now I asked the guy, you know, hey, does it come in bigger quantity than a meter? So $19 so for a meter. So that, let's say you do a fuel line that would be like that long, 2, 3, 4. So you get 4 fuel lines out of it for 20 bucks. So that's $5 a line, which isn't too bad. It's cheaper, I think, than the OEM HUSQVARNA. But can we do better? This feels pretty rubbery. I mean, it feels like rubber. Not quite as pliable as the Echo, but it's really darn close to the exact size that I need, I think. So this is like $45. It's a different specification, R3 spec, and supposedly this is like for backpack blowers fuel line. Same exact dimension, 222. So the outer dimension should work. This stuff, 10 meters in here. So 45 bucks, 10 meters. So $4.50 a meter. Get 4 lines out of it is roughly $1 a line. I think that's a win. So if you're putting together saws, OEM Stihl R3 line, if you're putting together a bunch of saws, $1 a line. Haven't tried it in a saw yet. I gotta assume that it's fine line. I'm not, you know, I don't know the quality of the line, but gotta assume that it's good stuff. What I don't know is, does it seal in a case You know, is it actually good fuel line? Does it seal, you know, HUSQVARNA case? You know what? I got a 394 chassis right here. It's old, but that's a gas tank. We can check it out right here. Oh Lord, that feels terrible. Yeah, I think we need to replace that. To save the impulse line, let's cut a piece of fuel line. Now, I just saw Bob do this, Walt's video, and he fishes the line through, which you can do, or you can cut it on a bias. Walt cuts it on a bias and shoves it on through, which is what I've done. We're just going to do this for demonstration purposes. So I don't think I'm not going to fish it all the way through. I'm thinking I'm just going to cut it on a bias and shove it through. But what I want to check and make sure is two things. One, it feels snug in there, which means it's going to seal on the sides. And two, I want to make sure that there's still a lumen. So I'm going to pull it most of the way through. I think it's going to be fine. Put a little grease on it. Now if I can go in here and grab it. Not quite enough. Just need a little bit more to grab. So I'm going to pull it most of the way through until I only have a tiny little nub sticking out. And that way I can check this with my drill bits. So this is a 1/16 of an inch drill bit, and I'm not going to use the sharp end, but so the lumen is indeed patent. 1/16 of an inch at least. Oh yeah. So you have patency there, which means that this line will work. Now, at $1 per piece, I think I'd just tell Husky Line to go stuff it. Because $6 or $8 a line doesn't really work for me. That's a whole lot better. Put a fuel filter on here too. Let's see if we can do that. No problem. Fuel filter's on. That's going to go in my 394 tank. You know what? That's easy peasy. I like easy peasy. Just made my day. Okay, so I now have my new solution for fuel line. It's Stihl line. Here's the part number. 071292380004. And that is the stuff that I'm going to use for fuel line, if at all possible, from now on. Because I can just go down to my Stihl dealer and get it. That, and you can buy it in bulk. And if you pay 40 bucks for 10 meters or 45 bucks for 10 meters, whatever it is. So if you get 4 lines out of a meter, that's just over $1 a piece. Just over $1 a line. I think that's pretty good. And that every time you do something like that, it starts making rebuilding saws a much more, not profitable, but kind of feasible experience. Because if you're not rebuilding saws and you're throwing them out, that's bad. So there you have it. Here's the part number. So I now have my new fuel line solution, and I think everybody else can go stuff it at this point. So I hope you like this. Lots more videos to come. Lots more ideas to come. Gotta use my impulse line now. Gonna actually use that for 200T impulse line. I'm willing to bet that this is different rubber and it's spec'd differently because of the heat in the 200T impulse. So I would venture a guess to say use this for the impulse line and use the R3 spec here for fuel line. Anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.